goals of our organization and a little bit of history of our organization, a little bit of an introduction of our organization. Now we are the International Foundation for Spiritual Unfoldment. This organization was founded by my guru, Guru Rashananda Yogi, back in 1976. He taught for 12 years in Spain, in England, in Ireland, in Denmark, in South Africa, in the United States, in Canada, and I think these are the countries that he
Hi,
taught.
I'm not at the house right now.
We'll wait for.
Give you Chris's number and send it to you.
And I'll get it in the meantime. I'll get
Okay,
it.
thank you so much. I'm in the meeting right now. Thank you.
Where did Irma go?
Sorry. This is where I live, Caravaggio 7 Tower, and I guess the neighbor's calling to find out if there's power in our house, because they have some generator, and I don't know because I'm not there. So she's trying to get a hold of.
Entonces lo que hace es que lo cambias. A ver si está aquí. Okay.
Okay, thank you. It has to be an emergency, of course.
So, I was with the organization. It was founded in 1976. Guru Raj, his guru was Swami Pravitananda. Swami Pravitananda lived in the ashram in Almora, an ashram in Almora in the Himalayas. It's the ashram that Vivekananda started for non-dual teachings for pure Advaita in Almora. Maybe you have heard about that ashram. I believe it is still operating these days. Guru Raj lived a life of he had his guru, and he wanted to retire himself in an ashram also, and get away of this world of turmoil and all these things. But his guru Swami Pravitananda told him that no, that he had to get engaged and get engaged with the world and know the world, and when the time was right, he should teach spirituality. And he should do it, bringing these teachings to the Western world. So So Guru Raj, for different circumstances, ended up moving from India, from Gujarat, where he was born, to South Africa, married, lived a business life in the Hindu community in South Africa at the days of apartheid. He was very much a community leader of his community, and from 1976 to 1988 he was teaching, and he taught in South Africa and in England and in Spain and in the US, and he had chelas or disciples in all these different countries. It was a very family oriented movement, if you want to, when he came to Spain, he would come to my house. When he came to the US, he would come also to the house of his chelas here in the US, and the same in England. And we would meet with him in whatever house he was, and while he was moving around, we did courses or retreats in retreat centers here and there. As a result of this work, there are about 3,000 hours of recorded material. His satsangs were basically impromptu satsangs, in the sense that he just sat down and said, "What do you want me to speak about?" And he would just speak about whatever. Throughout these 12 years, he taught a framework of teachings and a framework of meditation techniques and spiritual practices that today, since 1988, that he passed away, till today, we continue teaching in different countries. We have an organization in England that is still teaching. We have an organization in Spain. In Spain we have 3 ashrams and like 12 centers and many active teachers. In the US there is also an organization that has been teaching for all these years, and this is an ashram, within that general environment of what we could call the International Foundation for Spiritual Unfoldment. Now, the International Foundation for Spiritual Unfoldment is kind of the international body which is composed by the meditation societies in each of the countries. Like in America, we have the American Meditation Society, and in Spain we have the Spanish Meditation Society, and in Britain the British Meditation Society, and so on and so forth. We teach, we are very practical in the sense that Ramakrishna used to say, if I can bring one person to self-realization, to enlightenment, my life will have been worthwhile. No? Well, Guru Raj used to say, if I can put in the right direction as much people as possible, my life has been worthwhile. So we are not an organization that sells enlightenment or self-realization or things like that, but we do sell a method, sell between quotations, service with, a method that will put you in the right direction, and once you are in the right direction, you eventually will arrive to whatever place you want to arrive. No? or you have to arrive. We are also an organization with a focus on training meditation teachers. So we are an organization that have been teaching meditation teachers since 1976. And it's part of our goal to have good meditation teachers all around the world. Meditation is something that you have to teach personally. It's basically impossible to learn meditation online or by reading a manual. Probably like it is very difficult to learn to play the piano reading a manual or online. You really need, it's an art. All arts require a master, no? That's why normally artists we call their mentor, master, because you need that mastery, that personal touch in the teaching. There are many people out there that are today, in 1976 when we started, meditation was not so popular. Today it's very popular and everybody knows it and this and the other. But, and so there are many teachers of different schools. Some of them are from certain denominations like Buddhists or whatever. In the spiritual supermarket you have really lots of different things today. We want to keep a quality, and we put a lot of effort in training good meditation teachers, that they are well trained and that are able to transfer or transmit the essence of spiritual teachings, which is basically where we put our focus in. We are a non-denominational organization, which means that, we don't follow any religion in particular. Although we regard all religions and spiritual traditions or wisdom traditions as different rivers that end up in the same sea. Our emblem, which is that one, contains like the symbols of the great spiritual traditions like Taoism, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, everything that can go under Hinduism, Jains, Hindus, Vedanta, Judaism, Zoroastrianism, the Parsis, Confucianism, Islam, and then that spiral, which represents the spiral of evolution, which represents, and every other one that is not here is kind of a universal one for all of them, which means Greek philosophy, or you name it, any attempt of humanity throughout the ages, throughout the cultures, to find truth, to find, to answer the big questions. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going to? And what this is all about. So we are a non-denominational organization, and we teach meditation techniques, a protocol of meditation techniques that I'm going to teach you this weekend. This is the preparatory meditation techniques. The meditation techniques that we teach, we teach the preparatory techniques. After that, we teach individual techniques. Each person gets his individual technique. And after that, there are certain advanced techniques that have to do with certain you know, to use words that are used today, certain tantric techniques or kundalini practices, techniques that deal with chakras and mandalas, that we teach, you know, like through a process by which you learn through a path different techniques. The techniques that we teach, as you will see by practicing them, they are very powerful, very effective. And you know, we teach techniques for each of the different kinds of meditation techniques that are there. Meditation techniques are common to all spiritual traditions. They are common to the contemplative traditions of you know, like Catholic priests, or the contemplative traditions in all contemplative traditions, Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, Sufis, Christian, have developed different kind of meditation techniques or contemplative techniques. In a study made about, I think it was 10 years ago now, by 3 scholars, Luntz, Davidson, and the other one, I don't remember his name. What they did, they studied all the different techniques that are taught in the different traditions, and to make a classification, the typical classification that a scientist or an academist would do. What are the kind of techniques that are there? And he made this classification that I like. These 3 authors, they published it in Cambridge University Press in one of the publications of Cambridge University Press. It's a very well-known article. And they made a classification that a kind of like, because it really explains well the different kind of techniques that people learn. And according to these 3 authors, there are 3 kinds of techniques. What we could call concentration techniques, Buddhists probably would call it samatha. You know, different people call these different traditions, call these techniques in different ways. I'm going to use plain English. So, concentration techniques. The concentration techniques are all based in one thing, basically. You use one object to hold your attention into that object. And it will be an object of the senses, and it can be an object of, normally it will be an object of the sense of touch, of the sense of hearing, or of the sense of seeing. Although you can have an object with all the senses. You could, you know, be meditating on the nectar, and then you are using the sense of taste, right? So you use a sense, and what you do is you use an object to keep your attention in that object, and be able to simply discard from your mind everything that is not that object. Not like fighting against the mind, but simply holding your attention in the object. The easiest way to understand this is like when you are observing that's John Slotnick. Nice. Hello, John. So you brought the harmonium and everything?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Harmonium and everything, yeah.
So we are going to have a little bit of harmonium and kirtan afterwards. Good.
Yeah.
So, while they settle down, I continue. So, we were speaking, okay, like when you are watching a chimney. You know, imagine, go back to your memories, probably you've been watching, you know, the fire of a chimney. So what happens there is that your attention is put into the chimney, the fire. And you feel, you know, attracted to that fire. You know, your attention holds into that fire and you just, it's so nice to watch the fire for you that your mind is working, is producing thoughts, but you are letting them go, all of them. You know, you are just letting go, you can feel all the sensations of the heat, or the sounds of the wood, the clacks, the sound of the fire. So you are perceiving all the objects appear and disappear, like the heat, the sound, but you are just drawn into the fire and you let everything go. You let go of your thoughts, you know, they appear and they disappear, the different sensations appear and disappear, and you are just there watching the chimney. And you feel at peace when you do that. Everybody has had that experience. Well, that's a meditation. When you meditate in the techniques that are based on an object, you use an object that can draw your attention so that your attention is put in that object and you can let go of everything else. Typically, one of the most used and practiced meditation is with the object of your breathing, which is, your breathing is in reality like the chimney of your body. Because when you breathe, you know you are burning oxygen, and with that oxygen that you are burning, you are feeding, you know, all the cells with energy. So it's the fireplace of your body. So when you meditate with your breath, you know, you just close your eyes and you start putting your attention in your breathing. And you start putting your attention in your breathing, and you may start by feeling the sensation of the air coming into the nostrils and out the nostrils, but then you know, it's like a chimney that your attention starts going to different places of the fireplace. So you are breathing and suddenly you are feeling your breathing in your chest or in your abdomen or in your body in reality, because all the body is breathing. So it's basically a meditation based on the sense of touch, and you are putting your attention in the chimney of your body. So all of these techniques, all concentration techniques, are based on the fact that you put your attention in the object, but eventually if your mind is a little bit in turmoil or whatever, your mind can draw you away from the object, which means that, you know, you are putting your attention in your breathing, and you know, a thought will arise in your mind that you will become aware of it, and the thought might be, I don't have a job, I have this, where I'm going to live, and you know, it's a thought that you are attached to, because there is a strong identification there. You know, it's my body, my house, my child, it's all, you know, you have a strong identification there, and so that thought draws you away from the object, and you start elaborating that thought, and suddenly you are, you know, with a lawyer creating a lawsuit to the university, say for example. And what you have to do is that when you are meditating and your mind draws you away from the object, is not even forcing you back to the object, is just letting it happen until one thought arises in your mind, which is, I've lost contact with my object. Because you might be still aware of the object, like of your breathing, and your mind is elaborating. So if the mind elaborates, you let her elaborate, you just let her play. You just react when your mind tells you, or the thought arises in your mind, I've lost contact with my breathing. And then what you do is, you take the attention away from the thought and you put it back into the object. And it's very easy because you simply draw the attention from the thought back to the object, which is your breathing. And you let your thought go. Now, people sometimes have a lot of problems sometimes, most of the times, have a lot of problems to let their thoughts go. Because people think that their thoughts matter, or that they might be thinking something important that they don't want to forget, or things of that nature. One has to, when you are meditating, you have to tell your mind, look, whatever you were thinking, if it was important, it will come back. And if it was not important, unfortunately, it will come back also. And if it doesn't come back and it was important, for example, your thought was that you have not paid the mortgage and I have to do something about it, you don't need to worry, because if you forget about it, the bank will give you a call. So the bank will remind you. So all these techniques, the concentration techniques, are based on that simple principle. Now, these techniques operate in different levels. And provide, meditation techniques are like how do you call physical education? You call it, like exercise. Meditation techniques, what you are doing, you are training your mind. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, for example, they speak about the siddhis of the mind, the powers of the mind. People, when they listen about the siddhis of the mind or the powers of the mind, immediately they start imagining things like levitation, or you name it, kind of Superman things. Because we have the idea that to be spiritual goes together with being Superman. And the spiritual people must be able to fly and to have a super strength, and you name it. And it has nothing to do with that, but there are powers in the mind that are developed through meditation. For example, in this case, and different techniques unfold different powers, but one power of the mind, which is a basic competence of the mind, is concentration. A concentrated fool gets a college degree. A non-concentrated smart guy, if he doesn't concentrate, he will not get a college degree. If you are able to concentrate your mind in whatever you concentrate it, you get things going. So concentration is an ability, a power of the mind. And not everybody, and like every ability, like the ability to run, If you train it, if you follow certain methods, you will run better. It's a natural ability. Everybody has the natural ability to concentrate, but if you you follow a training, you will be able to do it better. So it's techniques. For this respect, it's only techniques that will develop or unfold certain basic competences of the mind. Concentration, visualization, introspection, intuition, all these basic abilities of the mind with the meditation techniques get enhanced. So basically you are doing like when you go to the gym to train your muscles so that your body is fit. The meditation techniques is the same, and what you are training is your mind so that the mind is fit to the tasks it has to perform. Now, dealing with the mind is very, very important because it is with your mind that you experience life. It is with your mind that you experience yourself, and it's with your mind that it's that you suffer. The mind is what makes you happy or unhappy. Your mind is what makes you feel enlightened or under the biggest of obscurities. So having the powers of the mind or the cities of the mind well tuned, it is very much like having the engine of your car well taken care. Makes it possible that the car is going to be able to take you where you want to go. In other words, with this what I am saying is that it is not that meditation takes you anywhere. It is that because of these meditation techniques, the engine of your car, that is the one that is going to take you wherever you are going, is, working well. So within the meditation techniques, the concentration techniques use different senses. We are going to learn techniques using these three senses. And we are going to learn techniques, we are going to learn a technique that uses seeing, which is Stratak. We are going to learn mantra meditation, which is with hearing. We are going to learn with touch. We are going to learn the meditation with breathing, or what it's called also Anapana or Vipassana meditation. We are going to learn all these techniques. So these are the concentration techniques. Now, the other kind of techniques that are taught throughout the ages, throughout the civilizations, are what these people called open presence techniques. These techniques are based on the ability of the mind to sustain itself, probably is what today they call mindfulness, to sustain itself in the present moment without judging it, and learning to flow moment by moment within the actions or the moment you are experiencing. There are many techniques within what we could call open presence techniques, but they could include things like doing Tai Chi, where you have a complete awareness of your body, of the different movements, so that you are keeping your attention in what you are doing, in the flow of action, Certain yoga movements could be conscious walking, contemplative walking. We are going to learn several techniques within this category also, and we will practice them during this weekend. So the open presence techniques. And then what these authors call, probably taken from translations into English of Buddhist traditions, what they call loving kindness. Loving kindness techniques. I don't like the name loving kindness techniques. I prefer to call them what they are in reality, because they are devotional techniques. Devotional techniques is every technique that you use to open your heart, to feel the opening of your heart. This will include from the Buddhists metta meditation or the compassion meditations of all sorts, but especially they include devotional chanting, kirtan, gospel, singing hymns in the church. You know, if you have gone to church when you were a child, and have you gone to church when you were, you probably sang hymns of some, you know, I remember in Spain we sang "Qué alegría cuando me dijeron vamos a la casa del Señor." I don't know in Mexico. So, so you sang that in Mexico also. So, you know, it's something that cheers you up and makes you, you know, how happy when I was told that I was coming to the house of the Lord, you know, and you sing that happiness and you praise the Lord, you know. So, kirtan, gospel, you know, for example, I feel much more attracted to gospel because I can feel the emotion more than to kirtan, because, you know, it's more near to me, gospel, blues, you know. So hymns, you know, the hymns, they are beautiful hymns, you know, that, you know, make you feel uplifted. They uplift you. So all practices that have to do with, you know, there are not rules for the heart, so you cannot force love upon you, but you can do things that, you know, put you in a more loving kindness kind of attitude, you know? Probably that's where the word comes from. They bring to you a loving kindness attitude, and that is devotional singing, that is all kind of the metta meditation that the Buddhists have, all compassion meditation, and something very, very important which the Christian tradition, our tradition, has really been good at, which is service to others. Servicing others is one of the best techniques to open your heart. If you look at the people that dedicate their lives to serve others, you know, like, for example, in Spain we've taught meditation for many, many years in a prison nearby where we have the ashram, one of the ashrams there. And in this prison, for the last 20 or 30 or 40 years since the prison was built, there are this group of nuns that have been going there since the prison opened and are still there today, and they've been there from the beginning. And you know, you know, they are old now. Monica could tell you about them, you know, they are... ¿Qué edad tendrán? ¿Qué edad tendrán las monjitas de la prisión de Villabona? 80, yeah, 82, 84, very old now. You know, they've been going there for, and you can see the face they have of happiness. You know, it's a prison, so they deal with, you know, kind of certified bad people with quality warranty by a court. And you know, and they give themselves completely, they organize things with their families, they bring them books, if they are happy they stay with them, or they speak with them. And you know, when you surrender your life to the service of others, you know, people that do that, you can see them that they are happy, that they are lovable, that they become loving kindness. Their attitude is very much of loving kindness. You could recognize these nuns as an expression of loving kindness. So service is one of the main practices within this area, which is the loving kindness practices, and this is also something that we are going to learn all about. So these are kind of the techniques, the meditation techniques. Now, together with the meditation techniques, there is what we could call the spiritual practices. The difference between a meditation technique and a spiritual practice is the following. A meditation technique, as the word says, is a technique. You sit down or you do the technique, you do your service, you do your chanting, you do your open presence, your Tai Chi exercise, or whatever the case might be, or your Vipassana meditation. It's a technique. Spiritual practices is more like a practical philosophy, something that you apply to your everyday life, and you apply it consciously. For example, spiritual practices are also very universal. The problem with the spiritual practices is that everybody knows about them. Everybody agrees with them, but nobody practices them. For example, a spiritual practice would be don't do unto others what you wouldn't like to be done unto you. That's a practice. That's a practical philosophy that you are going to apply. You ask anybody, everybody will be in agreement. Oh yeah, true. Now, tell me, when was the last time that you spoke bad, you know, not nicely, about a person that was not there?
2 days.
2 days ago, exactly. 1 day ago, 2 days ago, maximum. In any human being that you ask, that, you know, they agree with the practice, they think it's great, but when it comes to put it into practice, which means, do you like that they speak bad about you when you are not present to say something about it? No. So why don't you do it with others? When it is to practice it, people don't practice it. And so a spiritual practice is not a concept, because as a concept it can sound very well to your mind. As a concept, you can be totally in agreement with it. But as a practical philosophy, it brings its benefits when you practice it. And you have to practice it. If you don't practice it, sounds great, but it's worth for nothing. So we are going to also learn the meditation techniques and spiritual practices. Now, spiritual, yeah.
How many spiritual practices?
How many spiritual practices we are going to learn? I'm going to get into that now. Now, the spiritual practices, as the word goes, is a practice, and it's a practical philosophy, and it is something that you apply in your life. And when we get into that, we get into the main field of experience that we have to live. Which is the scope of one day. Human beings, we have the idea that we have a story, you know, like, you know, we have a beginning, and we have our story. I don't know if, have you ever read Byron Katie? Do you know Byron Katie?
I've heard of her.
You've heard of it. It's a good, she has a very good book to read, which is Loving What Is. My advice is that you read that book. It's a good book. She's a very intuitive woman. But Byron Katie used to say, who would you be without your story? And your story is what is happening, what's going on in your mind every day when you wake up in the morning. Because every day when we wake up in the morning, because life is one day after the other, you know, we think there is a continuum in the same way we think that, you know, when we are watching a film in the cinema, we think that the horse running is a continuum, but it's not a continuum, it's just one picture, one picture, one picture, one picture, and then when you put it all together, it looks like the horse is moving. But in reality, it's like instances. We think this is a continuum, but this is just instances of days. Our life is instances of days. And we leave it as a continuum, but it's not continuum, it's discrete. It's discrete. Discrete? You say discrete, right? What happens in the mornings is that you wake up and the first thing you become aware, you might become aware, I don't know, of the light. You know, when you wake up, or the alarm clock ringing, or my advice is don't wake up with an alarm clock. Do you wake with an alarm clock?
No.
You?
Usually no.
You?
I have my phone set on a ringer. I like.
Yeah, well, my advice, don't wait on an alarm clock, or put a very soft alarm. It's very bad to be brought out of sleep violently. Like it's very bad to be brought out of meditation violently. You know, you need it to be soft. But tomorrow if you observe yourself, you know, you might become aware of the first light of the day, and you become, but the most important thing that appears in your awareness is your memories. And in your memories, you start projecting in the screen of your mind that morning that you have just woke up to live that day. You start projecting the things you tell yourself about yourself, the things you tell yourself about life, your yearnings, the memory you have of your circumstances that goes together with the interpretation you make of those circumstances, and your judgment that you make of those circumstances. Because in 99.999% of the cases, when you make this projection, you say, this is wrong. There is something in your circumstances that should not be there. I should not be without a job. No. I should not be without this. I should not be without a couple. I should, there's something wrong here. And then you project these memories, which is a past, into a future where you believe this will be sorted out. You've been doing that since you were little, and that future never arrives. Give me 5 minutes that I need to go to the restroom.
Sorry.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Well, what is your name?
Hi, I'm Jane.
Jay, hi.
Hi. What's your name?
Jay,
Jay?
like G. Jay, like G.
J like G.
Yeah.
Okay, I got the J part down.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so, did you come out from the city, or?
Yeah, from New York City here.
Oh, good. Because I know that they've been advertising in the city.
Right.
Yeah, it's just pretty much open, so,
Yes,
yeah. So,
beautiful place.
yeah, it really is.
You live right around here?
Not too far, not too far.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, so it's exciting to me.
Yeah.
We have another teacher down in White Plains, which isn't too far from me, which is, kind of where I love to meditate. But, yeah, this is wonderful.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah.
Good to see you again. Good to see you.
You're all going to the restroom.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's 9:10 already. Time flies. So,
I have a question.
yeah.
Did you, cuando me sonó el teléfono, did you say how you met Guru Raj?
No,
Oh, okay. I was
but I will tell the story, why not? But not now, because it's a
Right.
little bit long.
wondering.
But on Sunday, if you come on Sunday, so that you know the story also.
Was not by coincidence.
No, not
Nothing
really,
is
no.
coincidence.
No. Not by coincidence, although there is the apparent coincidence, but it was not coincidence, it was something that had to happen.
Yeah. Malas. I have meditation malas.
Uh-huh.
When I'm done with them, you can put them
Ah,
on.
yeah. Why not?
Sí, y
Thank you.
también tengo, what I wanted to give you, tengo unas banderas, the prayer flags.
Ah, that's nice.
Las tengo en mi living room, pero I would prefer to give them to you because they go with everything you have here.
Ah, good.
If you want it.
Yeah, well, don't take them of your living room.
No, but es que I was looking for a place for them,
Yeah.
and Cynthia, like, I put them up and I moved them around, and it still didn't feel like that was the place for them. And I
Here,
saw-
they would look good
Right,
here.
porque
Right,
están
so we
todo
can do
eso
that,
así.
yeah.
This, I think, lo que pueden llegar es.
They can cover the whole, ah, that's nice. So yeah, bring them.
Yeah, this is big.
Y las malas tengo because my friend gave me a bunch of, to give away.
Uh-huh.
As a Krishna devotee,
Uh-huh.
she gave me a bunch, right?
Ah, good.
Pero you can put them here.
Yeah,
You
you
don't
can put them
have.
here, yeah.
Y,
Great, thank you.
send donations para mushroom.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's restart. So, we were with the spiritual practice. So now, every day of our lives, we have this experience. And this experience change is different day by day. You know, if I think we spoke about this the day you were around, you know, if you go with your mind when you were 20 and you kind of recover from your memories what kind of projections, how did you interpret the circumstances, what did you think that had to change then, what projections to the future you did. You know, they have nothing to do with today, what is going on today. Neither the future you projected has to do with the future that actually is. And the same thing when you were 30 and when you were 40, and now you will be doing similar projections, but when you are 80 or 85, and you will see that they were faulty projections also. So this is the reality. We wake up every morning to this history of ours, our story. And we think that our story, which is that mechanism that starts by itself every morning when you arrive to the waking state, you call that, without calling it, you call that your reality. Now, one of the main things we teach is that that can't be your reality, because nobody knows that reality. I don't know that reality. Your boyfriend has no idea of that reality, and he lives with you. Not only I don't know that reality, neither anybody else knows that reality. Nobody cares about that reality that you wake to, because everybody is so worried about the reality they wake up to. So nobody knows it. Nobody cares about it. Changes from one day to another. You don't see the changes from one day to another, like you don't see a baby grow. But the I that will wake up tomorrow is not the I that waked up yesterday. And the I that waked up yesterday, because you call this your I, the I that waked up yesterday will never wake up again. You are not going to wake up tomorrow with the I that woke up when you were 20. That I died that night and will never wake up again. So, the I with which you wake up and to which you identify to begin with is flower of one day. It dies tonight. In the case of today, the I with which you woke up today is going to die tonight. So, the life of a day is a little bit like a lifetime by itself. In the same way that you can say that this lifetime that you are living is the result of all your previous lifetimes, you could say that the life of this day that I am living is the result of the life of all days previously lived. But what you are living is not the previous lives, is this day. So life in reality, with respect of your experience of it, it's what is going to happen today. Because yesterday, it's only memories in your mind. In your mind once, in my mind others. Past, there is not a past. We think there is a past that is shared. But you have a different past, and you have a different past. Joan has a different past, and so on and so forth. You know, I mean, every person has a different past. We believe and we say, oh, well, yeah, but there is a past, you know, that historians can speak about. Well, read a history book of the history of England in England and of the history of England in Spain. You will see how different they are. Not the same past. You know, everybody tells their own past and has their own past, even in history books. It's just a matter of, you know, it's definitely is not a place that you can go, you know, somewhere in the past, and it is nothing that we share. Because, you know, first of all, we are not in history books, and the past that is real to us is the past we have in our minds. And that is different for each of the minds. So the only thing that really exists is the day you have to live. And in the day you have to live, you have to deal with the following things. You have to deal with this. You have to deal with this, that we could call it the little I, or we call it the little I. You can call it in many ways, no? Ahamkara, you know, if you go to a more Vedantic term, you would say ahamkara, the identity. The word ego is not good in my opinion, because ego is more than the little I, is the whole of your individuality, the whole of your impressions, the whole of your put together. So we can call it the little I, in the sense that it's just for one day, and it's little because what goes on in these memories and what goes on in this mind every morning, if you observe it, is garbage. All of it is bullshit. I mean, this is the biggest bullshitter that exists. This little I, when you wake up, in your circumstances, there are people, you know, it could be your mother, or your friends, your colleagues at work, so on and so forth. So, within the memory you have of your circumstances, you have memory of people that are part of your circumstances. And you wake up to those memories in a way that if you are thinking about family, you might be finding yourself in the shower, mentally directing yourself mentally or speaking mentally with your mother or your son or your boyfriend, and if you are thinking about work, you might be speaking with your boss or your colleague, or, you know, mind starts this chatter with all these people that has in its memory, and in this chatter reproduces these projections, really. It reproduces the desire to get to this someplace, somewhere. Yeah? At the end of the day, one of the things that we are going to teach is that there's nowhere to go, that everything is here and now. But this is what we do every morning. We do these projections. And in this mind chatter, if you watch it, tomorrow when you wake up, you are simply aware. You try to be aware. Every time you are in a conversation, try to be aware. You will see that normally you will be either lying, so you could be, you know, speaking mentally with your mother and telling her, no, mother, I've already stopped smoking. And you know you smoke 2 packets a day. You know, tell that to your mother because you feel good while you are having a shower telling that lie. Or you can be manipulating. You know, you can find yourself speaking with your boyfriend so that he takes you to Hawaii or whatever the case might be, no? Manipulating someone that you have in your memory. Or projecting yourself as superwoman or superman, which means, you know, that if your thoughts are being addressed to someone that you want to, you know, a woman you like if you're a man, or a man you like if you're a woman, or whatever the case, or a woman you like if you are a woman, whatever, you will project yourself as what you are not, you know. You will, you know, if you are having a mental conversation with this woman that you have just met, probably James Bond is nothing if you compare it to you in that projection that you do in your own mind. So you are projecting yourself as what you are not. So either you are lying, or you are manipulating, or you are projecting, or you are simply complaining about something, or judging something. These are the main components of this mechanism. In other words, it will be very, very difficult that if you observe yourself, you find a single wise thought in those conversations. It will all be bullshit, garbage. Now, we have to deal with this garbage during one day is one of the things that we are going to learn. How you deal with this in one day, because the good news is that all this is done in one day. It's only one day. It's very easy. Life is just a matter of one day. People think, you know, when they feel they are in problems, they tend to imagine themselves out of the problem, you know. So you are in a problem and you are really not accepting the problem, and that's why with your mind you jump like to be out of the problem. And then obviously you don't see a way out because you are kind of trying to solve too many things in too short time. While if you simply limit yourself to the day you have to live, a day will bring you what you have to deal with. And it works through the magic of life, if you want to call it like that, or it works through the love of God, or through the grace of the Holy Spirit. You can give it whatever name you want to give it. But that day you will be confronted with the situations that you have to deal with, and one day is only 16 hours, and you only have to deal with that to do anything for your life, or for the life of the people you love. Because the only place you can do something for your life, or for the life of the people you love, is today. Yesterday, whatever you did is done. And tomorrow, when it arrives, will be a today. It's only today. So, a today has actions, thoughts, and feelings. When we wake up in the morning, the first thing that one of the main components of the experience is the experience of being an I that is in charge. You know, when you go to sleep, somehow you allow yourself not being in charge. And you go to sleep and you disappear somehow. And in fact, you sleep well if you disappear completely. If you don't disappear completely, you keep appearing during the night, is when you have a bad sleep. But you disappear, which means that you are no longer in charge, you no longer have a sense of an I that has to take care of what I am going to dream, when I am going to dream. No, you just let it happen. But then when you wake up in the mornings, immediately appears an I that you experience as something that is in charge of that identification that you have created for yourself that morning. So when you were 20, you woke up to that identification and your I said, I'm in charge of this. And when you wake up at, 35, you know, when you were 20, you wake up and it was girls or boys or dancing or wow. When you were 35, probably was a career. And when you are 40 something is the family, and so on and so forth. You know, it keeps changing, you know, until, you know, one day is the last day and the experience ended. Because, you know, you are kind of walking, having a walk through the experience of existence. You know, and you have a walk one day after the other, one day after the other, and you end up in a little hole, 8 feet by 4 feet, and you know, you have an experience of existence. One of the problems, the biggest problems, is that most of the people are not even aware that they are experiencing the existence. They keep pursuing that identification all their life, and they don't even realize what's going on. So, you know, you have to be, Buddhists call, you know, developing this sense of impermanency. Everything is impermanent. The I that you have woke up this morning to is as impermanent as it's gonna die tonight. And you know, you wake up different days, wake up different things, and you live one day after the other, and then the last day comes and you go to the little hole, and that's it. And you've had an experience of existence. So that experience of existence in reality happens only during one day, because the rest are memories. The rest is information in your mind that nobody else's knows. People also think that they will be somehow remembered, that they exist in the mind of others. We all have that sensation, that we exist in the mind of others, and we are worried about our identity and the existence it has in the mind of others. I usually put this example to people so that they realize. Imagine your father or your mother having a mental conversation with you. You know, your mother and your father, in the same way that you do it, if they are thinking about you, they will express their thoughts in a mental conversation with you in their minds. So just imagine your father or your mother, choose any one of them two, or choose both of them. Imagine them having a mental conversation with the you they have in their minds. And tell me, that you that they are speaking with, is like what you are in reality or not. It's an invented you. Exactly. And that is your father and your mother, that they raised you. You have the same psychological patternings that they have because you have inherited them through the educational process. You have half and half of their genes. I mean, couldn't be so close. And it's an invented you. The existence you have in their minds is not real. Imagine the existence you have in my mind that I met you in the street. I mean, you have no real existence in the mind of anybody. The only real existence you have to any other is today, when you are in front of that other. The only real communication that you have with any other is with any other that you meet during that day you have to live. So, from the first moment, we are going to learn to put our full attention in the only place where we experience the existence that we are, the you, the I that we identify with, and that I that we identify with, you know, we have this sensation of I do things. You know, when you dress yourself, it's I that I am dressing myself, I that I am putting my pants. So I do things. When you are thinking things, again, you live that experience that I am having this thought, and I am thinking this or thinking that, and I could think this or think this other. So I am in charge of my thoughts. That's another thing that is related with the I. And I am feeling things, because every day we could say that you are 16 hours. People say that it's 24. No, with respect of the I, is 16. The I, when we are speaking about these eyes, is not the big I, but the little I. We will speak about the big I tomorrow. So the little I is doing things, the little I is having thoughts, the little I is feeling things. And it's 16 hours. You feel happy, unhappy, bored, whatever, but you are feeling somehow. You think, you don't stop thinking since you wake up till you go to bed. And even then in bed your mind still keeps thinking and thinking. And the same thing with actions. I mean, from the moment you start moving your muscles, you have the experience that I am moving these muscles in this direction or that other direction. So in these three areas of your day, which is what you do, what you think, what you feel, we are going to learn different spiritual practices, which are different practical philosophies that we are going to apply to our actions, to our thoughts, and to our feelings. And we are going to learn meditation techniques that we are going, in a way that we are going to start the day with a meditation technique, and we are going to end the day with another meditation technique. And during this weekend, we are going to learn the meditation techniques, the practical philosophies, and we are also going to have a hint, I will give a hint of certain concepts, certain ideas, or certain philosophies that are good to understand, because you know the mind needs to understand. The mind needs to cognize and needs to understand what it does for what it does. So we are going to go through the following concepts. We are going to go through the concept of evolution. We are going to try to understand why is it that I am here now? What is it that happened since this cycle of this universe started that created this form that is existing today? How has this process been? You know, it's what Buddhists, you know, when they teach you reincarnation or all these things, they are speaking about evolution. What is evolution? And what does evolution mean? We are also going to study a little bit how does the mind work. It is important to understand, if you understand something, if you understand how something works, you acquire power over it. If you understand how if you understand the Maxwell equations that define how the electromagnetic waves behave, you can do a telephone, you can do a television, you understand how something operates, and then you have creative power over that you know how it operates. If you understand fluid dynamics, you can build an airplane, and so on and so forth. So, if you don't understand how it works, you are completely subject to its own workings. So understanding how the mind works is helpful because, you know, if you understand how your mind works, it will be easier for you to acquire certain creative power over the tricks that the mind tends to play with people all the time. So we are going to study how does the mind work, evolution, and then we are going to also touch a little bit certain mystical concepts like the concept of the impersonal God, the personal God, and what we would call grace or Shakti. And I will explain these concepts in a way that they are acceptable by any tradition, including the scientific tradition, because I will be explaining things very, very much from a scientific point of view. I have a scientific background. I studied medicine and physics, so I have a scientific background, and you know, and I use a lot of my scientific background to explain things, because you know, it's better and you don't get into strange esoteric things. You know, people many times get attracted to esoteric sciences, you know, like what is esotericism, you know? Esotericism and the esoteric sciences, you know, typically, you know, in any film of esoteric, you know, there were symbols that if you would understand the meaning of the symbol, you would acquire powers. Right, well, I will tell you where you can learn these powers. So, for example, if you say that the integral of, I don't know, I'm not going to put one, but it's equal okay, so this is a symbol. To understand this symbol, you have to study a lot of years in the university, in the school of physics and mathematics. And if you understand this symbol, that explains how the magnetic field works, you acquire power over this energy of nature, and you can do things, you know. As I said before, you can do a telephone, you can do a TV. That is esotericism. Today they call it physics, mathematics, physics, science. You know, that's the real esotericism. Particularly physics, you know, the mathematical science, the science that is capable to symbolize in a symbol the workings of many things. You know, all physicists would like to find the unified field, the formula, you know, that defines how everything works. But, you know, Einstein was good enough to, with just 3 letters, define how the universe, the macrocosm works. It doesn't apply to atoms, but it applies to everything around. And it's very easy. The energy is equal to the mass times the speed of light squared. Look how physics and the classic philosophies, particularly the Eastern philosophies, are similar. In the Eastern philosophies, when they describe the beginning, the cosmogony, you would say, cosmogony.
Cosmology?
¿Cómo se dice cosmogonia? Cosmology, yeah, but the genesis, you know, like how all this started, you know, a physicist will explain you the Big Bang. The Big Bang is based on this equation. But when you read the Vedas and you read what happened at the beginning, they explain that 3 forces came into motion. Sattvas, the 3 gunas. Sattvas, Rajas, and Tamas. I'm sure you have heard about the 3 gunas.
Yeah.
Right. Sattvas being light, wisdom. Tamas being inertia, obscurity. And Rajas being the movement, the energy that is produced when Sattvas and Tamas interact with each other. That's how it is explained. Now, light, speed of light, inertia, obscurity, mass, energy. So, you know, a physician of the 20th century and a mystic of 3000 before Christ in India, they describe the same thing. The mind, you know, this with a more poetical language, this with a more mathematical language, but they are just 2 languages to describe the same principle, which is the principle through which everything came about. So we will speak about these concepts a little bit also during the course. Tomorrow we will start at 9 o'clock with the first meditation, and as it is late and we are having kirtan now, and have you had anything to eat?
No, but I have to go.
You have to go? You are not going to stay with us for the kirtan?
I have to go. I guess, I mean...
So we will stay, the ones we are for a, how do you call, a nice kirtan thing. Have you had anything to eat?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are okay? You had anything to eat?
Yeah, I ate something before.
You ate something? Well, we will get something to eat in any case so that we can eat something while you get ready.
Yeah,
I have a question. You know, when you're talking about the night and day, and you made a triangle. Next to the triangle, you had like a cloud.
Yeah, memories.
Okay, memories. Okay, that's some memories inside the cloud.
Inside the cloud, you know, all your memories, you get part of your memories and you project them.
Yeah, it was right here.
Yeah, exactly. So I
Yeah,
have the
right.
memories.
Memories. Okay, that's what I was.
And you
I
know,
don't know what you were
it's just the idea that you bring from your memories things and you project them in the screen of your mind.
Okay. Thank you.
And you know that's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning. You might be aware of the first lights, but immediately appears those memories and you start projecting those memories and you project the idea you have of your circumstances, the people that are part of your circumstances, your yearnings, and you say, this is my reality. And these are my circumstances. You think that your circumstances are that which you are projecting in your mind, while your circumstances, the real ones, is the day you have to live. That's the only circumstance that is true for you. Because what you project in your mind and the day you have to live, most of the times have nothing to do one with each other. You are living a delusion in your mind, while you are having probably the best opportunity of your life in a day, that you just lose it because you are thinking that what is real is that you have in your mind, when that only exists in your mind. So one of the things that we are going to learn is to unchain ourselves of that of that torture chamber, which is
The
the
shadow,
little eye.
the mind shadow, yeah.
Any more questions? So it is 10 to 10, so it's time to do a little bit of kirtan.
Yeah.
Do you want anything to drink? You want anything to drink? Red wine? It's time to have a red wine now? No? You want something to drink? No? You? You have to go? Where do you have to go? They are waiting you for a party at your house. Your husband and your son.
To my house, I'm gonna have to be up early tomorrow.
True that you go to Long Island tomorrow. Okay.
We end with the meditation? How do we end the class? Just end, or do we end with the meditation?
Well, normally, you know, in normal classes we would have done a meditation. I would have taught you but I'll show it to you tomorrow. The one with the chant, with the Aim Rim Krim Chamdai Vicheche. I will teach you that meditation tomorrow. By the way, it's one of the mantras that Ramakrishna and his disciple chanted in the Kali temple. And tomorrow we are going to learn 2 or 3 more meditation techniques, and I will go through some of the concepts, but as you are coming next Saturday I will go through the same points, no? So you will be able to follow up. So it will be, tomorrow it's for you.
Great.
So,
Okay.
all yours.
Okay, I guess I'll just do a few songs, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we see you. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Oh my goodness. You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
How big do you want the bread?
Thank you, good night.
Yeah,
See
see you.
you
Good to see you.
Sunday morning.
Yeah. Good to see you again. Yeah, nice to see you. Yeah. I thought you already went back to Spain.
No, Isabel and Juan are here.
Okay, but you
Went to Spain, but she stayed.
Sí, espero los muchachos también.
Okay, so
She
Juan,
said that
Juan,
she
Isabel,
said-
Isabel. Vale. Bueno.
There's more cheese there. More.
Cuídate mucho. No cojas frío. Chao.
I'll just do a few songs.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Oh, yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure. I'll tell you a little bit about me and how I got into this. 'cause,
Yeah,
Good.
I love kirtan.
Oh, I'm so glad you even know what it is.
Yes,
That's great,
yeah.
that's great. I don't know, I guess I've been meditating probably 5 or 6 years. I'm like a whole different person than I was when I was younger. And it's really through the meditation, like me even doing this, I've done this in front of maybe up to 20, 25 people sometimes. You know, like this is, I'm a teacher by day.
Mhm.
This is my side thing that I
Mhm.
so through meditation, one day a friend said, "Oh, I'm going to hear a kirtan. Why don't you come?" I don't know what that is. Okay, you know. So I went, and yeah, I thought it was a little weird at first, and I sat back, and I was quiet, and then found myself just, you know, loving it. And then a few years ago, I said, "I'm going to treat myself to harmonium and learn to play it." And that's kind of what I did. You know, I took some classes online, some classes in person, and found my favorite songs, and I just love it. Like, I've had years that were really, really rough, and I go out during lunchtime and put on Krishna Das,
Yes,
you know,
right,
and
right.
just hear some chords
Uh-huh.
and be like, I can make it through the rest of the day, you know? So I really just want to share my love with those people. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm going to do when I grow up. When I retire, that's what I want to do. Yeah.
That's great.
So, you know, I've played for our group quite a few times. We've had retreats and, you
Mhm.
know, so, yeah. So that's kind of the story.
That's amazing. It's amazing how that happened for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably totally unexpected.
I know, I know. You know, he talks about the day, and
Mhm.
you told me years ago I'd be doing this, I'd be like, no way, because I had this idea of who I was.
Right.
And as I'm changing, I find it like exciting. Like, who's to say that was me? Who's to say that I thought that was Jane? That was me.
Yeah.
And it's not. It doesn't have to be. And you know, so it's really opened me up, and it's, you know, hey. And I'm excited, even though I'm getting older, I'm excited to see who I'm going to be tomorrow and the next day. You know, that whole thing.
Right.
So, yeah, that's sort of the story.
Full of surprises.
Yeah. So one never knows. So here's a little chanchi. You guys are eating, but whatever, you know. Anyway, maybe I'll start with Ramabola because that's a pretty straightforward one. If you have any favorite things, if you've heard of them, or you have any particular like me to do, that would be great. Let's take a minute. Actually, I had a little picture of Guru Raj that I would put here, but I have to find it. But he's here, so.
What is bolo is? Bolo means?
Bolo means sing.
Sing.
So yeah, so you know, Krishna Das is a pretty famous kirtan player, and this, you know, he says, sing whether you're happy, sing whether you're sad, just sing. It's like meditate, whether it's a good day, whether it's a bad day, no matter how you feel, just do it.
Right.
You know, because to him, that's what he does. Is his practice is this chanting.
Mm.
It's kind of what saved him.
Mm.
You know, he went to India, then his guru was very upset when his guru passed away, and something he realized he still had a connection with his guru and that he was meant to come back here and share this, you know. And he started in yoga studios, and now, like, you know, he's big and he goes all over the world. I usually see him, I don't know if I'm going to go November. Actually, like, I think next week he's playing in the city. But anyway, so Ramabolo, I mean, you know, just sing. You know, these are some of the gods. So Ram is the god of compassion and courage. Sita is his wife. Also,
Hanuman is the
and Hanuman is the monkey's son.
Monkey.
Is the monkey, and he has to do with being courageous and selfless power. So, you know, like the same thing with the meditation. We talk about the aim and prim, whether you know what it means or not. To me, like, I'm able to get lost in the music, lost in the words, and then I'm not thinking all this. The chatter in my mind is gone because I'm concentrating on this and that. So that's what it does for me. So anyway.
Well, how do you feel about chanting like English songs?
Well, you know, I wrote a song or two. I think, you know, I kind of mixed up because I think some people are a little nervous about what's Sanskrit and what's, you know, but I've tried to play at libraries. Some libraries are open to this. Some libraries are like, well, that sounds too religious for us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, but it's not. But, you know, I respect that's how you feel, you know. So it really depends who you talk to, you know. I think there's something kind of magical about it. Just going with the vibrations and sounds, you know. But I do some English songs too, because I think it's good to have a little bit of mix, you know, for people maybe a little bit.
So you don't prefer like the Sanskrit songs? Or?
Well, I probably do actually.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, I have one by Sanatam Kaur, The Sun Shines on Everyone, which she does with kids, which is just so cute. I've taken some of these songs and kind of rewritten words, and I'm a teacher during the day, a special ed teacher, and shared it with kids.
Yeah.
You know, and I brought in my
You're a teacher
harmonium.
at school?
Yeah, I am.
What grade?
Kindergarten.
Oh, wow.
Kindergarten.
Jane and I, we both teach at the same school again. She's first grade now, yeah. So I took Ramabolo, and instead of singing Ramabolo, I did, for the kids I said, let me do Ramabolo first. I'll tell you after. I did like, I am safe, I am happy, I am healthy too. You know, I breathe in and I breathe out. Everything's going to be okay, because we have a real push for social emotional learning, because, you know, we're pushing them so hard academically that we need to teach them to be okay. You know, if you're anxious, it's okay to let it go. To be, you know, so try to find a balance for these kids.
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway, so here's Ramabolo, I guess. You can sing with me whenever you feel comfortable, if you like to. Ramabolo, Ramabolo, bolo, bolo, ram. Ramabolo, Ramabolo, bolo, bolo, ram. Ramabolo, Ramabolo, bolo, bolo. and sing whether you're happy, sing whether you're sad, just sing. Same thing, meditate whether it's good, meditate whether it's bad. Whatever your day you're having, just do it. Is there any particular thing that captures your fancy? Or?
Yeah, let's go to the Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti Om. That looks
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. I like this one. And I added Om Ananda, or Guru Rajananda at the end. So this is, they call the four flames. So here are the four flames: peace, love, truth, and purpose. So take a minute and think about some, like for each of us, come naturally, you know, and then some we have to work on, you know, peace, love, truth, and purpose. And then Ananda, which I added because I just wanted to do that, has to do with bliss. So, yeah. So what we'll do, if you guys are good with it, we'll do call and response. I'll do the line first, and you guys do it. Does it sound good? Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti Om. Make us right.
Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti Om.
I am peace, you are peace, we are peace. I am
peace, you are peace, we are peace.
Om Brahma, Om Brahma, Om Brahma, Om.
Om Brahma, Om Brahma, Om Brahma, Om.
I am love, you are love, we are love. I am
love, you are love, we are love.
Om Satya, Om Satya, Om Satya, Om.
Om Satya, Om Satya, Om Satya, Om.
I am truth, you are truth, we are truth.
I am truth, you are truth, we are truth.
Om Dharma, Om Dharma, Om Dharma, Om.
Om Dharma, Om Dharma, Om Dharma, Om.
I am purpose, you are purpose, we are purpose.
I am purpose, you are purpose, we are purpose.
Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om.
Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om.
I am bliss, you are bliss, we are bliss.
I am bliss, you are bliss, we are bliss.
Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om.
Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om.
I am peace, you are peace, we are peace.
I am peace, you are peace, we are peace.
Om Brahma, Om Brahma, Om Brahma, Om.
Om Brahma, Om Brahma, Om Brahma, Om.
I am love, you are love, we are love.
I am love, you are love, we are love.
Om Satya, Om Satya, Om Satya, Om.
Om Satya, Om Satya, Om Satya, Om.
I am truth, we are truth, you are truth.
I am truth, you are truth, we are truth.
Om Dharma, Om Dharma, Om Dharma, Om.
Om Dharma, Om Dharma, Om Dharma, Om.
I am purpose, we are purpose, you are purpose.
I am purpose, you are purpose, we are purpose.
Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om.
Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om.
It's a nice one, right? Yeah. I still do J-Ram the other way. I like when everybody did it at the
Which one?
J-Ram. I did it. I have to learn your tune.
Yeah.
You know.
Why the tune of Guruji's tune?
Yeah, Guruji too. Yeah, I don't think I quite got it, but yeah. Any other one you guys want to do? I would do, the sun shines on everyone.
Which one is that?
Let's see, that's, actually, it's the last one on the front page, number 6. This I did at school with some second graders, with an after-school program, and it was so sweet. Again, the English, more appropriate at school.
Yeah.
But the music teacher checked, and the principal's okay with, saying, Ram Ram, Hari Ram, just,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, that's
And,
pretty flexible.
yeah, and letting kids know that we're all alike. We're all different, we're all unique, but a lot of us are going through the same things, and, everything's gonna be okay. It's very sweet. Yeah. So usually this one I sing like the first once, and you guys will sing it twice. Sun shines on everyone. Try with me. Sun shines on everyone. The sun shines on everyone. Doesn't make choices. Doesn't make choices. When it rains on everyone. When it rains on everyone. When it rains on everyone. Doesn't make choices. Doesn't make choices. One spirit lives in everyone. One spirit lives in everyone. One spirit lives in everyone. Doesn't make choices. Doesn't make choices. When we pray for everyone. When we pray for everyone. When we pray for everyone. We don't make choices. We don't make choices. Peace to all. Light to all. Love to all. Ram Ram Hari Ram. We'll do that again. Peace to all. Light to all. Love to all. Ram Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari Ram. We'll do that again. Ram Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari Ram. It's really sweet, particularly with kids, Yeah. So.
Do the kids like that?
Yeah, they
Yeah?
really did. Yeah, I
Oh,
did it with an
okay.
after-school program,
Interesting.
and it worked out really well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, it's like the past year or two, I've sort of combined, like who I am on the outside with meditation, and everything, the school, and well, now I've combined. It's the universe has offered it up, and it's been really great to like sort of be my true self. Because I always kept like kind of a separate identity in
Right,
school, like
right. Right.
But people are open to it, and that's why I think if we can try to bring meditation into the schools, I mean,
Well, we are doing that in Spain.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they let you chant Ram Ram Hari Ram.
Yeah, I checked with the
Because-
music teacher, and he
Yeah,
checked,
because-
and the teacher was okay.
Yeah, that's interesting that they were okay with that.
Yeah,
My experience in the schools is that they always say, oh, yeah, people think that they are really looking forward that you speak about God in schools.
Yeah.
The children and the teachers.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, but
We
you
do
know,
it largely, but you still have to
in
be
America,
careful,
yeah, in
yes.
America there has been some problems
Yes,
with
Look,
even teaching yoga.
schools are open to that now.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's quite worse in Europe.
Oh, really?
No, oh my God! In America, you have in the dollar bill "In God We Trust." In,
This
is
in
true,
Europe,
right.
that would be. Europe is much more secular
Interesting.
or laicist,
Oh, really? Interesting.
or there are like 3 times more atheists in Europe than in the States.
Okay.
You know, I mean,
Okay,
in
yeah.
Europe. You would
Interesting.
not sign over the Bible or swear over anything
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
at all.
Right.
Right.
No, because that would be incorrect in that sense. You know, no, and theoretically in schools in Europe, you know, you don't teach anything about spirituality theoretically,
Theoretically, yeah.
because they are really looking forward to listen about it.
But in Spain,
Teachers and
Spain
children.
is it the same?
Same,
Same. Okay.
same.
Okay.
It's actually the same.
I think here people become much more spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily, you know, go to church or temple or whatever,
Right,
but
yeah.
just, you know.
Yeah, here
it's-
what you might have is a much more fundamentalism
Yes.
from, you know, in Spain, for example, you know, people that, the few people that follow the religion, which is mainly Catholic, you know, but, you know, probably only 20% of the people, you know, they were all baptized because it's like a tradition to baptize the children, but
Mhm.
that's about it, that's as far as religion.
Mm.
Interesting,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, well, these things change and that's what it is, right? Yeah. Anyway,
And in fact, you know, in schools, they miss that because what happens in a school, you know, before, there were times that, you know, people in the school would, you know, pray when they arrived to school, and, you know, there was a spiritual teaching
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah. Right.
Part of your education was this spiritual teaching. And since they took that away without substituting it with anything,
Yeah.
that's why children are lost these days, because, you know, those spiritual teachings gave you a sense of, you know, it could be very simple and very infantile if you want, but, you know, you are a creature of God, you have to good, be good, because when you die, you know, there is this judgment, and it gave a sense to your life, gave a meaning,
Mm-hmm.
and if you believe those things, you know, it kept you stable.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have taken that away, at the same time children receive information which is very contradicting, very different from very many different sources.
right, right.
You know, when we were young boys, you and I, for example,
Mhm, mhm.
the information we received was what? Our parents,
Yeah,
the school,
right, right.
and what we were allowed to see in the TV,
Right.
which was
Very
very limited.
limited compared to today. with
Very
the internet.
limited.
Right, of course.
Today,
Yeah.
you know, they receive information from their parents, from the school, from the Twitter, from the
Yes.
Facebook,
Yeah.
from the this,
Right.
all sorts of information.
Yeah.
Many of those informations contradict each other. They don't have, you know, any kind of a spiritual guidance in school,
Mm.
and then children are lost. They don't know
Yeah.
what to believe in. They don't know what information. They don't have any tools to discern, to discriminate between good and bad information. And that is spiritual teaching. That is the spiritual teaching that schools need more than anything else.
Mm.
More than anything else. More than all this objective teaching, you know, like in the objective world.
Mhm.
you
in the
don't have
subjective
that,
world,
yeah.
because we have taught a lot about the objective world, physics, chemistry, mathematics, business, but the subjective world, which is your subjective experience, we've said, well, you know, we don't even tell them anything about it. At maximum, a little bit of emotional education, which means nothing in the sense that you are not giving the right tools to the children to deal with their subjective experience. We have a program, for example, in Spain that we do in quite a few schools that we are starting here also, that is a curricula that covers from K1 to K12. So from first grade to 12th grade, with a term program every year that, you know, teaches them meditation techniques, teaches them things about practical philosophy, gives them a scientific but spiritual at the same time overview of everything that they are learning, that includes evolution, how this universe came about, and, you know, you give them all that knowledge also as part of their spiritual training. Instead of speaking them about the paradise and Adam and Eve, you speak to them about the Big Bang and how from what started was put into motion there, it has, you know, throughout that motion, it arrives to them, you know. And you explain them this very easily, you know, I always use the same analogy. Imagine you have a string, and you pull off the string and you have your parents. And you pull off the string and you have the parents of your parents. And you keep pulling the string, and behind every parent are another parents. So you tell this to a group of children and you ask them the question, where does the string end? And then they have to guess. And you know, if you help them guess, the string ends in the Big Bang. Because parents, they are always parents.
Yeah.
So, you know, then you explain them, well, look what happened. The Big Bang started a movement, and you are the end result, and they all look at me. True. You are telling them, you are explaining them evolution in scientific terms, but in spiritual terms also. So that's part of the curricula we have for schools.
Interesting. Now, are most Spanish people Catholic?
Not practical Catholics, but by birth, yes.
Yes. Okay. Like what? Like 80, 90%, or?
Yeah, 90% of
Okay.
people.
Wow. Mostly Catholics.
Yeah, like Italy.
But not
Or Ireland.
But
practicing.
not practicing.
But
No,
not
I didn't know.
Most of them are, I mean, practicing Catholics. I think the last statistic was 17% or something.
Oh,
like that.
really? Wow. That's so interesting.
Yeah,
So-
churches are empty. Churches
Wow,
are empty,
interesting.
or have a lot of old ladies.
Wow. Yeah. So they're born into Catholicism, but their parents don't teach.
Not today.
Not today. Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, no, I
So
didn't
they
know.
don't
I
go to
see.
church. They don't do anything. So they're not really even Catholics. Not really. Just
They are
only
Catholics
by
because they
birth.
are baptized.
They're baptized. Okay. That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
so they are
Wow.
registered in the
Okay.
books.
So when you say in Europe it's really kind of non-religious or more secular, that's what you mean.
Yeah. Well, in Europe, you know, people don't believe in God as they do believe here.
Yeah.
In Europe, you would not see a prayer in the parliament of any country.
Yeah.
You know, like they do the prayer here,
Well, I think the
or you would not see a single politician speaking the name of God or
Yeah.
in any way or form. And here, from Trump saying that he's an envoy of
probably the
of
two
Jesus to
world
whomever,
wars.
you know, they use God all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably the two world wars had a lot to do with that. I think in the sort of the consciousness. of
No, I
European
think that is
consciousness.
basically the result of the illustration, you know. in Europe, well, in the Western world, because America is, you know, people from Europe, basically was made out of people from Europe to begin with, you know, because here the only people that are not illegal immigrants in this country are the American Indians. Those were the only non-illegal immigrants. The rest were illegal immigrants. They just came.
But I think the Europeans really suffered a lot in World War I and II. And that
Well, Europe
suffering-
has been in war.
and that suffering.
No, but you
I think-
make a mistake there, because Europe, you know, if you study history of Europe,
Yeah.
we've been in war. I mean, there has not been a single generation that has not been in war. We had the 100 Years' War between the Protestants and the Catholics. The wars in each of the countries, the wars between France and Spain, between France and the Germans, between the Germans. You know, it has been in war from, you take the history, you know, every century you had, all the generations in every century have gone through a war in Europe, except for this last generation.
Okay.
My generation was born without a war and is still alive without any other war having been started.
Yeah, right.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, maybe.
Cross
Exactly.
fingers,
Wow.
exactly, because
Yeah.
you never know. Now Brexit, this, that, the other, and
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
you know, the
Yeah.
minimum could, you know, light a thing. No, Europe, you know, the illustration in Europe, you had for many, many centuries kind of an intellectual dictatorship by the church. So the church, you know, would say what you could think and what you could not think. And if you were Galileo Galilei, you know, and you
Yeah.
thought that the sun was the center and not the earth, they could take you to prison.
They can kill you.
They could kill you also, exactly. So in the 1700s, with the illustration, with Newton, with you know, the beginning of science, you start getting this mind, the French Revolution and all these French philosophers, I don't remember the name, Rousseau, all these people, they started to, you know, think freely beyond the limits of the church.
Yeah.
And in fact, it created you know, Europe had been so many centuries, the intellectuality repressed by the church that created a very anti-clerical wave that expanded and that today is completely expanded in Europe, by which not only in Spain but in Europe the majority of the people, you know, the statistics, you know, people that say that believe in God in the United States is like 3 times more than in Europe.
Yeah,
than in any
America is
European
very
country.
high. It's like 80-90%.
Yeah, in Europe doesn't get to 30, 25.
But I think what you're
32.
saying is in Europe they threw out the baby with the bathwater.
They threw out the baby with the bathwater. Yeah, well, right, yeah, well, it is a normal
Right.
reaction, you know,
Yeah.
it's an understandable reaction
It's an understandable reaction, but
of
they got
the
rid of something.
oppression, you know, during many centuries.
Right.
They got
They
rid of
squashed
something
it and then.
Something that's very
Exactly.
important, something that's essential to human need,
Exactly.
was thrown out.
Exactly, was thrown out, and we are living the consequences. That's why
Yeah.
Nietzsche said, God is dead, no?
Yeah.
Now we are living the consequences of a society that has forgotten God. But that is what has happened.
Yeah.
And it's more excessive in Europe than here. Here you still see a more faithful society, a more devoted for that respect society than the Europeans. The Europeans, you know, it's, they have real allergy to the word God. It produces them allergy. too many people.
Yeah, interesting.
Very allergic to the word
Very interesting.
God.
And my husband and I took our first trip to, we went to Italy this summer, first trip to Europe, and the biggest thing is to like see the churches.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're beautiful, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, but it's very interesting. It's
Yeah.
like they squashed it and then like an explosion of like, we're gonna move on or see what else is
Yeah,
out
really.
there.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you go to any church any Sunday in Madrid or in any big city, the church will be, no more than 20% full,
Yeah.
and full with very old people.
Well, but considering what you're saying, though, how has Eastern spiritualities been accepted in Europe? For example,
Well,
gurus or
that
teachers?
is the Eastern spirituality. What has, that's why it has attracted many scientists, is that is very based on experience,
Mm-hmm.
is very logical,
Mm-hmm.
and and it's not dogmatic.
Okay, so it has attracted.
Eastern spirituality is not dogmatic, like, you have to believe that Jesus is the one and there is not another one.
Yeah.
Or you have to believe in the resurrection of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then, a scientific mind, you say, okay, so the body resurrects. But when I resurrect, this is like a joke, but when you resurrect, how your body, the Christians believe the resurrection of the meat, of the body.
Yeah.
So you resurrect.
Yeah.
So the question is, with what body you resurrect? With the body you had at 30 or with the body you had at 85? First question. Or you give me a new body altogether. So it's all ridiculous things, that you have to believe, and really, and those are dogmas of the church, i.e. if you don't believe in that, you have to believe in the virginity, to put Catholic beliefs, dogmatic beliefs, virginity of the Virgin.
Yeah.
So then what is it? That Jesus was homozygotic to, it's beyond, and they, for centuries you had to believe these things. You have to believe in eternal damnation. Eastern philosophy, Eastern spirituality doesn't have those kind of things. You really don't need to believe in nothing. Really, they speak about meditation, they speak about evolution, reincarnation, they speak about things that make sense. If you study Buddhism, that you have studied Buddhism, is more a psychological treatise, as a treatise in psychology, than any sort of collection of beliefs that you must have, or dogmatic beliefs that you must have. So it is more attractive to a scientific-oriented mind, it's more attractive to a logical mind, and Eastern spiritual traditions, they do, like in the US, have penetrated Europe.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting, yeah.
And in fact, in a sense, the Christian traditions, when they get in touch with these Eastern traditions, they enrich themselves.
Right.
For example, the Jesuits,
Right.
when they got in touch with the Zen Buddhism in Japan, they adopted all those practices in their own Company of Jesus. And I'm speaking 200 years ago. But many, there are now many movements in the Catholic Church that have incorporated meditation as a practice, like Thomas Keating
Right.
or
Yeah.
Thomas Merton and many others.
Well, on that note, how about I'm going to end with Loka Samasta.
Good.
which,
Come on.
Because here's what it means, and it sort of ties in. I think it's the last song, the last little.
Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.
Yeah.
Om
So,
Shanti Shanti.
Yeah.
Om Shanti Shanti.
My understanding is it means something like this: may all beings be happy and free,
Mm.
and may the thoughts and words and actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and freedom for all. So, nice way to end.
My God, that's a big translation for 4 words.
Yeah, well, I don't know. This is what I got. This is what I so this is how it goes. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Where'd I go? Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. What do you want to try? Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. How about we end with 3 ohms, okay? Good. Ready? He's got it. Oh, I should take it down. Wait. That's more for you.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming
Okay.
tonight.
No problem.
Namaste.
Thank you for participating.
Yeah, very nice to end this.
Here.
Yeah.
Very
Okay.
nice way to end tonight's.
Right? Yeah.
Bhakti is the brand of the thing, or is that you put a letter there that says?
No, I didn't put it there. It's yeah, that's the brand.
Right.
Yeah.
Ah.
Everybody knows this one guy who sells the harmoniums, and he's in Queens.
Oh, really? Wow.
Mindra, yeah. You know. Then there's like a really very fancy guy that Krishna Das uses, but the rest of us go to this guy Mindra. Yeah.
Yeah. And he
So
makes
he manufactures
he
them?
manufactures-
I don't know. I think he brings them over from India
Uh-huh.
and puts them together, and he plays
Wow.
also.
Cool.
Yeah, I think he's trying to spread it too. So yeah, nice
Cool.
to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet
Yeah.
you, and thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah,
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 kirtan is
that's
very powerful.
yeah. I just love it and want to share it. So I'm glad you know what it is. People are like, what is that? You know.
Do you want anything else to eat?
Oh, actually,